Welcome to another episode of Sister Sunday. This is going to be more of like a podcast than the Sister Saturdays, where it's just going to be me and my sister,
Hi.
Elsie. We're just going to be talking about the games that we've been playing and what's happening in them and that kind of thing. And a lot has happened this last 2 weeks. It went from
True.
no changes to everything's getting changed. I feel like almost all my games are we have some kind of update or change going out on Tuesday.
That's true.
I don't know what
Lots
it
of
is about
updates.
Tuesdays, but that's the day.
Probably because if it was any day after that, people would get annoyed because the weekend they want to make sure it's updated.
That's true. So we were going to talk about the new character in Overwatch. We're going to talk a bit about Anthem, and there was something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, Beat Saber. The new
Beat Saber!
album came out on Beat Saber.
Beat Saber.
A lot of stuff happened. So, since you're excited about that, let's go ahead and start with the Beat Saber. What do you think of the new album that they put out?
At first, I was super not excited about it because it kind of all sounded the same, in the preview.
Mm-hmm.
But once we started playing it, I think I liked it a lot better, and a lot of them actually are pretty catchy, and I actually really enjoy it.
I have had one song or another stuck in my head since the day I downloaded that, and
Oh, yeah.
it's getting bad.
It is, and it makes you want to play more because you're like, oh, I'm gonna stick my head. I should just go play it real quick.
I should just go play it real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it becomes even more addicting.
It is, and it's crazy how much longer each of the songs are opposed to the original songs, and you can feel
And
it.
how many more blocks there are.
Yes, there's a lot more blocks. At least it feels like it.
No, there's definitely more blocks because, on some of the other shorter songs, there was probably 500 blocks, and then the newer songs all have 1,000.
Yeah, and I do like that the blocks aren't there to make things difficult. They kind of work with the music.
Yeah, and I like how there's more of a full range of movement, I feel like.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of, the straight up, where you have to actually lift your arms straight up, and...
Mm-hmm. My
and
shoulders
a lot of,
have been
crossing, yes.
so sore again from these songs.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be noted
But
that
I really like them.
we play expert, mostly.
Sometimes on faster.
Sometimes we're just started doing the faster, and it's crazy.
Although we did 150 speed on some of the older songs.
Yeah, we were definitely getting closer to trying out the expert plus. We're not there yet, but we were working up, and now we're distracted.
I don't feel like I'll ever get to expert plus territory, but that's what I thought about expert.
Yeah.
When I first started, I'm like, I will never ever play expert.
I could barely
and then here we
comprehend
are.
what's happening, and now I feel like, man, this must be boring to watch. There's not much going on, but
Right?
I think it's just because we're used to it, and it used to be
Exactly.
overwhelming to just watch someone play expert.
Yeah. And you couldn't see the arrows, and you didn't know what was going on, and the crossing, and then now it just kind of becomes second nature.
Which is what's been kind of difficult about this new soundtrack is that it's with these new sets of motions. It's kind of like you get default move sets kind of in your head, and so you're like, okay, now it's time to do the arm swirl, and you've got that.
Yes.
But now it's you know what? Windmill this one. You're like, ah.
Right? Or it's a lot of them, I don't know what exactly the movement is in the moment, but not in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there's a movement where it's not quite up and down together or opposite. Some of them it'll be up, up, down on one arm and down, down, up, or it's all different.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed there's a lot of different things like that.
Yeah, it's been interesting. We started out trying to play the hard, and then one song we're like, I think we gotta go
This is
expert. And I don't
Yeah.
know if that's something about the songs themselves, if they're just overall conducive to an easier play, or if it's just we've played enough now that overall harder would feel like that.
I know it's funny because like I talked to my coworkers about it, and first of all, explaining it to anyone who hasn't seen Beat Saber is ridiculous. And then like, and then they look a little at me and they're like, "Oh yeah, is this playing expert? You know, whatever." And you can just totally I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
You expert. No,
Yeah,
actually. I'm actually working my way up there, okay?
right.
Took a lot of work, man.
But I really like it. I mean, I had my eye on Beat Saber for a really long time, so.
Yeah, you did. And that's why we ended up getting our VR headset in the first place, was playing VR, or playing Beat Saber at your house.
I
So,
seriously, like 2 years before it ever came out, even on PC, I had my eye on it.
yeah. I remember seeing it on PC and be like, Jesse is going to love that.
Yes.
So, since we just were playing Overwatch, let's talk about the new hero. What are your thoughts on him?
I don't know. I hate him less than I thought I would.
That is very true.
I thought it was gonna be way too much in terms of, I don't know, everything.
Yeah.
But in action, I think it's a lot better than I thought. And in fact, there are times where I don't feel like it's powerful enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like his L1 ability, I think could stand to do a little more healing,
Oh yeah,
especially like
yeah.
the self heal or the aerial heal or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wish it seems as though it kind of does a smaller amount for a short period of time, but I wish it would kind of start a little bit bigger initially and taper off.
Mm.
Like for
Yeah,
example,
so
do like 100 healing and then taper down to 25 by the end or whatever.
yeah, so what his abilities are is he has the area effect heal, which heals over time. He has
Hmm.
a circle he can put out where people can't fall below 40% of their health. He has the normal gun and a bullet that
Healing
heals.
grenade, yeah.
Yeah, healing grenade, which is unlimited. It's just like a normal ammo that you reload. And then his alt is when he puts out a little wall that you shoot through, and it doubles any damage or healing that goes through it.
Oh, and on that topic,
Hmm.
I thought the whole his healing bombs being a regular ammo, I was like, that's so ridiculous. But like, cause I was like, there's no limit, which I thought
Mhm.
was kind of dumb.
Mhm.
But in terms of total mayhem, it can actually really hurt you because you can't shoot it as much or as fast as if it was like an
Like an
ability you could
ability.
constantly do. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
think it's kind of an interesting payoff.
Overall, I've actually enjoyed him. I still don't know that I'd ever choose Anna over Baptiste at
No.
this point, but I've never
I think
been good
Anna's.
at Anna, and trying to
Yeah.
snipe someone up close to heal them has just not been my thing. I've never been good at that.
Yeah,
So,
I think that Anna, like, he is what Anna should have been from the get-go. Like,
mm,
it should have never been a sniping situation, and it should
hmm,
have, you know, it should have had a little more for her.
yeah. Yeah, I've always kind of wanted more from Anna, and this is kind of, it feels like what the kind of solution I'd want for her, but a new character. So I don't think I'll ever choose to play Anna, but I don't think I would have anyway. But I like that
I feel
his.
like Anna's gonna become, like, maybe phased out. Like, they're either gonna have to really work on her or just phase her out, because at this point, she feels kind of useless to me.
Mm-hmm. And it might just be because we are very casual players. We don't play any competitive. We only play the quick play or one of the game modes. Usually we're playing random heroes. What's that mode called?
Hmm.
Just random
Mystery Heroes
mystery heroes.
and Total Mayhem
Yeah, we like Total Mayhem and Capture the Flag. That's
and
pretty much
Capture the
all we
Flag.
play. So maybe in the competitive sphere, she's still viable, but to us casual
Even
people, we don't
still, I
really.
don't feel like she is.
Mm.
Like, I've watched some competitive, and I haven't really seen anyone actively choose her.
Hmm.
90% of the time, it's a Mercy type thing, and then, like, a Brigida.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
I'm sure someone somewhere does.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Maybe. Holding out for Yana. And it's funny because
Right?
when we were playing Mystery Heroes, it suddenly felt like we got her all of the time. And it even happened to my boyfriend when he was playing later. He's like, "Man, I feel like all I'm getting is on." I'm like, "I know. It's like they're trying to be like, keep playing her. Don't forget her."
It'd be kind of funny if they used it as kind of like a marketing thing and actually had her retire or something.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Like, use it so that she could become something that doesn't exist anymore. And then just be like, oh, Anna's gonna retire because she's older, you know?
Hmm. That'd be funny. I don't imagine people would handle it well, but it would be amusing
Oh, of
for
course
sure.
not. But at the same time, no one's happy that she's useless now.
True. I think that his ult doesn't feel. uh,
Enough.
Yeah. I feel like it either needs to be a little bit bigger or last a
Or
little
longer.
longer or something. But I think his, like, immunity bubble thing, I don't remember what it was called. I feel like that thing is more useful and more of an ult than his actual ult.
I agree. I feel like they had them swapped. Like, I feel like if the wall was his R1 and then the immunity thing, like maybe up instead of 40 to like 50 or 60,
Mm,
and then have that be his ult.
that would have been interesting. Yeah, I just found in, and maybe it's just because it was in Total Mayhem or something, but it was easily ignored. Like, especially because when we were playing on one of our last ones, there was a May on the other side, and it's smaller than the width of her wall. So pretty much every time I tried to
Yeah.
pop it out, she'd just be like, bloop, here's a wall, and it'd be completely useless. Like, and in some ults that's the case, but I don't know. It feels so
And
easy to counter. They're like,
and
all right, I'll just step away.
it barely fits over a doorway. Like
Mm-hmm.
some of the little archways, but like if it was a bigger open area, it'd be hard to find it.
And that is another thing we've been struggling is telling whose wall it is. Like
mm.
instinctually, like obviously if you stop and think about it, like, okay, that one's red. But for some reason
In
that's
the moment.
still in the moment it's hard to be like, oh wait, that's theirs or that's mine. And I mean they still shout before they put it out, but I don't know, it feels like it really funnels both teams, like it makes the other team scatter and then
Yeah.
your team have to try to get behind that wall or angle around that wall, so it kind of brings your team together even more, which maybe works in the sense of then it's easy to put out the healing or the I mean the healing, but also the immunity thing. But
But it's also easier to kill.
yeah,
A diva could just shoot through that wall, and I actually did that and just wreck people.
yeah. So I don't know how I feel about his ult. So well, it'll
Yeah,
be
I think
interesting
it
to
could use
see
work.
how that because they always end up changing. I think
Of course.
everyone but like Hammond ends up getting changed a little bit afterwards.
Right?
So it'll be interesting to see how things go with Baptiste. So finally, let's discuss a little bit of Anthem, which we've been playing pretty much since release. You've been playing
Hmm.
since its release, and I ended
Yes.
up getting it a couple of days
Like,
after you
couple days.
guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we've played together ever since. So we have quite a bit of Anthem time under our belts. How are you feeling about the game?
I don't know. I mean, I I feel like I'm probably more forgiving in terms of games than most. I, I played Dead by Daylight even though it was just a wreck
Yeah,
for so long, just
that game
because
was a
I like the
mess.
concept. Yeah.
I'm
And it was,
also very forgiving when it comes to bugs and glitches. I usually just find them amusing or like unless it makes it
mm,
so I can't play the game. I'm pretty
yeah,
forgiving
absolutely.
towards bugs.
And it's just like I'm also kind of conflicted because this is another game that I had my eye on for a really, really long time. Like I saw it in E3 and I was
Hmm.
super excited about it, and then it just I wouldn't say that in my books it's flopped, but I know that's the consensus of a lot of people.
Hmm.
Um, and I do feel like there were some things that were kind of misleading, but most game trailers are a little misleading. But
Yeah. Especially
um,
if it's really early in development when they put out the.
yeah,
And I think
but
some
I
people need to be
something
more understanding that that's a concept and not how the game's gonna be. But.
yeah, but like something I was under the impression of, and it might just be that I misunderstood, or it might have been misleading from them, but I thought flying was gonna be kind of like an infinite thing, kind of like DC Online. I don't know if you ever played that, but
Mm-mm.
um, in DC Online you could fly as long as you wanted. Like it was just kind of an open world in that aspect, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what I thought Anthem was gonna have, but it didn't. So that was probably my biggest disappointment in the game, personally.
And that said, it's not like you have to be on the ground for long to recharge. And if you're in an area where there's a lot of water or mist or anything
Yeah,
like that,
but
you
it's like
can
it's
fly, but
still,
it's constrained for sure.
and it's just like it's for me a more of a mental thing. Like I have to continually be like, oh, do I need to check? Oh, I need to check my bar. Oh, I need to check my
Mm.
bar. Oh, is there a waterfall? Like I
Mm-hmm.
wish I could just kind of fly without thinking about it.
Yeah. It's one of those
Um,
things where it's the gameplay self is like, man, I wish I could fly infinitely, but your normal self is like, I kind of like that because you have giant jets on your back, it gets hot and it needs cooled down. Like logically it's
right.
cool, but you still kind of want to
It's
be
just
able
kind of
to fly a
annoying.
bunch.
Like, and even still, like, it was kind of fun at first, because, like, oh, cool, you get to fly through waterfalls, and I like how that's a detail, but it was cool, for a little while, but then it kind of lost it for me because I was just like, ugh, gotta find another waterfall, you know?
Hmm. I like flying kind
Um,
of close to the ground, so like following the rivers and stuff. So I actually
mm,
rarely have to
it keeps it
stop.
cooler.
But we both play the javelin, which is like the mech suit that's built to fly longer. Like I can't
Hmm.
imagine being that beefy tank.
Yeah.
They
I
wouldn't get to
played him
fly.
for a little bit, and it's just feels heavy. Like you
Mhm.
don't get that freedom, and I was really looking forward to that.
Mhm.
Um, but like I think the gameplay is really fun. Obviously, it's severely bugged,
Yeah.
but
We've
I
certainly
think it's
experienced our
fun.
share of bugs.
Yeah. But I enjoy it personally. I
Mhm.
know that a lot of people are really griping about it. Um, but I personally enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying the characters that you get to interact with and how you get to interact
Mm.
with them. The story's been good so far.
The world changing is like my favorite part.
The fort that you're in, it starts out just terrible, and as you're going, you're like, hey, that thing is now painted, or wow, that thing's been cleaned
The
up. Like
table's
it's
different,
now
or
there's a merchant here that's selling stuff, and so you're like breathing life into the fort that you're in, and you're having this huge effect, which
and it
is
makes
really
it
fun.
feel less repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it feel like you're actually partaking in the world instead of just replaying a magical day, I guess.
Yeah, it's a cool way because most games that are online multiplayer kind of games don't really get that luxury, but the way this game's formatted where your world, your home base, that fort is only you, and then you can go out and you can play with up to three other people, so there's four.
Mm.
Like it really allows for more storytelling than a lot of other multiplayer games.
And that's something else that I've noticed is like some games are doing three player
Mm-hmm.
groups, and that kind of annoys me because a lot of the times I have four people to play with.
Right.
Um, so I like that Anthem did stick with the four.
Yeah, I think it works well, and it allows for one of each plus an extra of the. Or
Hmm.
no, it's one. It could be one
Just
of
one of
each of
each.
the javelins. It doesn't happen
Yeah,
often. I see.
but it has a couple.
It has a couple of times, but the I'd call it like the generic javelin doesn't get used very much. It's
Is
just
oh yeah, absolutely.
the other three are kind of because the javelins are kind of based on your magic or fantasy based game. So you have your mage, you have your rogue, you have your tank, and then the guy who's like the sword dude. So I see the other three a whole lot more than the one that's like touted as being really customizable, but kind of generic in my opinion.
I see Storm the most personally.
Yeah, I'd say Storm and the tank is what I see the most
Yeah.
for sure. The rogue esque one with the blades. I think people want to try, but it's really hard. It's a hard
It
class to
is
play.
it is hard. I mean, I really enjoyed it because you just get to kind of go crazy, but
Hmm.
you die so easily, and especially if we play on hard, especially with our missions and everything.
Hmm.
And so different things like the turrets or the snipers can take you out instantly,
And from a
especially if you're one of
distance.
those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been enjoying it. Some of the bugs we've had is there's been a lot of audio bugs where
Mm.
the stuff cuts out. I tried respawning and ended up spawning under the earth, and the volume went like tenfold. I had to take my headset off because it hurt. It was so loud all of a sudden. We've had the respawn troubles. We've had a couple of quests not able to be completed.
There's
Um,
been times that you get kicked from the quest, and then it's
mhm,
a really big hassle to join again, and like didn't get to see the cutscenes. And
mhm.
something I experience all the time is I can't revive people.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know why, but I know a lot of the times is if I go down and someone revives me,
then you
after
can't.
that point I can't revive people.
Hmm.
But there's been times where I didn't ever go down and I can't revive people. And my boyfriend, who plays in the same room, I can look at his screen and he's able to revive them, and he can look at my screen and see that I can't. Like, it doesn't even
Hmm.
give me the option.
Yeah. And then what's the other one? At least you can join back into quests. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you do get kicked, you can, as soon as the game opens up, it's like, do you want to go back to where you were? And you can. I mean, you'll miss the stuff, but at least it's an option.
And for a long time in the beginning, we would oftentimes get kicked right at the end when you're getting your loot.
Hmm.
And originally, like before you even started playing, I don't think they gave you the loot back. And
Hmm.
then it started to seem as though they would give it to you the next round. And then I haven't had that problem in a really long
I
time,
haven't had
but
that in a while. Yeah, I wonder if they've fixed some of that.
mhm. I think this game's gonna take time
Mm.
to be as good as it should have been.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely has an opportunity to be something really great if people just can be patient enough for it.
Yeah. It's funny because people are always like, I want this game released now, don't delay, like, I want it now. And then when people put it out when it's wanted and it's buggy, they're like, well, you should have waited. Like, you guys
There's
were
no
demanding it
winning.
was released and now you're wishing it hadn't been? Like,
Yeah, I have a coworker who did that same very kind of thing and was like, "Oh, it took I think it was 6 years
mm,
was this game. Um, it was either 6 or 7, and he's like, this should have been the best game ever, and the bugs are ridiculous, and he doesn't play it anymore because of it. But
mm,
I mean, for him, it's all about the loop. And while I understand when you do hard things, you want good loot,
mm-hmm.
at the same time, I feel like it shouldn't be about the loot. It should be about the game.
The game.
Like, the
Yeah.
game, you're playing the game to enjoy the game, not to get loot, in my
Uh,
opinion.
yeah. I
I
can see
think it
both
should be
ways.
more the journey, not the destination.
I've never really felt like the loot wasn't There's been times where I felt like maybe I should have gotten a reward for doing something. But when I do
Well,
get the rewards, I was always pretty satisfied with what we're getting.
a lot of it is the strongholds. Um,
Oh, okay.
you're supposed to, I think, get some masterwork stuff when you do them,
Mm-hmm.
or it's at least what people are expecting because
Mm-hmm.
they're so difficult and they're not getting masterwork stuff, and so that's what most people are griping about. And then
Gotcha.
there was the whole patch leak that made it so people were getting like 3 masterwork at a
Oh no.
time, and everyone was like, "Yes, like this is perfect. This is what we wanted." And then the update actually happened, and now everyone's pissy that they're not getting three. Like they'll get one every now and again, but
Which I think is
I
how it should be, but it should be
yeah, I
exciting that you get these really high quality stuff, not an expectation.
exactly
But
not expected, but
yeah,
it seems that a lot of people playing games now just want to have the coolest thing, not necessarily to work for it.
yeah, which is such a weird
Um,
mentality to me.
it's like, what's the point of buying the game if you're just gonna be grumpy that you can't have the perfect stuff right away?
Yeah, yeah, that's weird. I like that you can
But
change between all of the javelins anytime you
yes,
want.
yes.
And I had a friend I was telling it about, and he was concerned that, they'd force you into one of them at the beginning, but
Mm-mm.
they don't. They give you, like, the intro video, and then, like, the first time you're, like, super in control, you get to choose your javelin.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
And I appreciate that. Like, you don't have to
There's
have
a
different
lot about the
characters. And
game that I was really appreciative of, but
hmm
there was just it just kind of it feels just like it's not firing in all cylinders,
mm,
but I think it just needs time.
yeah, I don't know. It's that whole debate of, like, people releasing games at that state and how most people will still pay and play them, and then they get grumpy that they paid and played a game that is buggy, but it's kind of
Yeah,
expected for games to be buggy at this point. Like, now
it
we
is.
celebrate when a game isn't buggy.
Yeah, it's just kind of a different mentality than it used to be. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if it's how it should be or
Mm-hmm.
not, but like I kind of wish games were more polished when they came out, but at the same time, I know that I too get excited for things.
Yeah.
So I guess I see both points.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I think people need to be more understanding about, like, why hasn't this thing been fixed? Like, as somebody who has coded before and has tried to make programs, I struggle
Oh
to
yeah.
make a program that prints out hello world. I don't think people
Mhm.
have a grasp of how easy it is for one system that shouldn't affect another one does. And so it's really hard to pinpoint what's causing problems, and they can
And
be
it
as
just
simple
takes
as,
a lot of work.
yeah, and it's sometimes the bugs are as simple as one of the words has an S at the end of it and it shouldn't, but it's hard to, like, process that and see that as an error because, looking at it, that still makes sense. And it could be in a
Mhm.
in a part of the code that has zero relevance to what their bug is, but it's so hard to pinpoint and actually fix, and I don't think people are appreciate how difficult it is to
Understanding.
code and to make games.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I don't know
those
if you can hear my dog snoring background.
is he?
Here, let me get closer.
Oh, yep, I heard it. Sleepy boy.
Anyways, go ahead.
All right, so that's gonna be it for this episode. We've talked about the new Overwatch character, the new Beat Saber soundtrack, and the new game that we've been playing, which has been Anthem. I don't know how often these videos will come out. It just kind of depends on if we'll have stuff to talk about, whether there are new changes or whether we're playing new games or that. So I don't think it'll be something that comes out every week, but hopefully it comes out a couple times a month or something like that. So, did you have food?
I did. Yeah.
It's been different than anything we've done so far, so it's been interesting
But I
and
mean,
fun.
it's stuff we talk about idly anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is stuff that we've already kind of discussed with each other just while playing. So it's kind of fun to get it into a more formal setting, you know,
And share it with everybody else.
and share it with everybody else. So, I think that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.